Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Advisor with Stacey Chillemi. And today I'm very excited because we have our very special guest today, Aline. She is one of our special people on our show. She's part of our podcast community, and she's also part of our podcasters. She it has her own podcast on one of her on her our channel. She has her own show where she talks about wonderful topics that has to do with spirituality. So if you're interested in spirituality and you want to learn how to grow your life spiritually, you have to check out her podcast because it's amazing. And before we begin, I just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors who make this show happen. It's Speaker and iHeart. And thank you so much, guys, for everything you do, and we appreciate you. So today you had a couple of topics that you wanted to, talk about. And, that one had to be about the new moon that was coming up. You wanted to talk about not jumping into decisions so quickly. And a lot of it has to do with the new year of the wood snake. And you wanted to also talk about the working with the energies of Mars and how that plays a role in our life. So tell us, before we begin, a little about yourself so people who haven't seen any other episodes, know a little about you.
Yeah, of course. Firstly, thank you so much for having us back again. I say us because I have my fur baby Cleo on my lap. So my name's Aline. I am known as the acceptance coach because for me, accepting is where it all starts. Once we accept where we've got to where we are, how we got to where we are, who we are, then we can get on with why we're really here. And it sounds so simple when you put it into one sentence.
Yeah.
So the way I work with highly intuitive empaths, well, empaths of all walks of life. I work with very, very sensitive people. Well, the whole world really, because we're all getting a lot more sensitive. So I work with very much women mainly. I do work with some men who are coming into a space where they're not really recognizing themselves very much through either trauma, physical or emotional, and they're just starting to, unpeel those layers to reveal that gorgeous, gorgeous true essence inside.
Yeah.
So I work with, I say coaching, it's a melee because I work with guided visualizations, I work with channeling, I work with receiving messages, I work with intuition. So it's just easier to say coach, and there's quite a lot that's involved in it.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that's how I work. I have one-to-one sessions. I have something called an empower hour where we just dig deep for 1 hour. I also have continued coaching sessions, and I have a gorgeous course that actually is being relaunched again this Friday. Well, Friday the 28th, because I'm not sure when this is going out.
Mhm.
And yeah, so that's who I am. I'm the acceptance coach in a nutshell.
I
And
love it.
that lady.
Now, tell us what, when new moon comes out, there is studies also that, our energy level changes, the way we think it affects our brain. So the way we think, changes also. What does it mean for us when the new moon comes out? What kind of significance does that have on us?
Yeah, it's a brilliant question. And thank you for mentioning my accepting podcast, by the way, as well, because I've actually there's an episode all about the full moon on there, and in the next few days, I'm actually going to do an episode all about the new moon as well. So that will be coming up soon. So what happens is the moon that we all know, the moon works with the tides, and it's a bit like, how we are. We work in waves and we work in tides.
Yes.
When the moon is full, um, as the moon is full in that energy, the first 3 days of the full moon, it's very much about celebration and gratitude and being really grateful for all the gifts that we have. Because when we're in that moment of celebration and gratitude, the universe hears us, our vibrations go up, and we start allowing more in.
Hmm.
After those 3 days, as the full moon starts waning, so going down towards the new moon, that's when we're releasing, and that's where we are at the moment, as we're recording. And and so what happens then? It's a really good time to go, okay, well, thank you for this that's been in my life. Thank you for the lessons. Thank you for the growth. And I release with the love what no longer serves me.
Hmm.
So we are now 2 days away before the new moon. And when we're in that new moon energy, the new moon is when we can start feeling into intentions. And the first 3 days of the new moon, again, you can work with if you miss the first day, you've got the second or the third. This is when we can do rituals of, I welcome this into my life.
Yeah.
I feel wholeheartedly that this will work for me.
Hmm.
And you mentioned, I mean, I know why I talk about one thing, we can talk about five. They all
Mm.
link together. So with the year of the wood snake that we're in, the wood snake is grounded. We've had the dragon before flying. The wood snake is still the dragon element on the ground. So
Right.
the wood snake, it's very much being grounded and centered before we start peeling layers off,
Okay.
before we start making decisions. And I had a beautiful episode with my spiritual mentors, Crystal C. Perry and Foster Perry, and they explain it beautifully. With any episode with them, you just listen.
Mm.
So, and it's very gorgeous. They were talking about how it's very much, the wood snake is very grounded and takes time before making any movements.
Yeah.
So this ties in really nicely with what's happening at the moment because Mars has just gone direct. And I mentioned in our previous episode about how it's really beautiful when Mars is in retrograde, and especially because she was in Cancer in retrograde, it's going inside and feeling what really works for us. What is our inner work? What needs nurturing? What do we need to do to really help ourselves?
Hmm.
Now she's gone direct and still in Cancer. This is a beautiful time for action steps. And I don't mean action steps as in forging forward.
Hmm.
It's really feeling into that, okay, so I've done the inner work. I felt into what is my body yearning for? What is my soul yearning for? And start to bring that out.
Yes.
So what we can do with the energy of the wood snake and the energy of Mars direct and mellow those together because it's in Cancer, which is the most sensitive sign. Snakes are very sensitive, as we know.
Mm.
When you're peeling that skin off, it's going to feel a bit ouchy.
Yeah.
So it's making measured decisions. It's really feeling into, does this feel really, really right for me? And then taking action. So
Right.
this is what I really, really wanted to talk about. And as we're going into the new moon, so in a couple of days, as we're recording, there's the new moon. So it
Hmm.
might be, and this is in general anyway, so it might be quite nice for the final couple of days before the new moon, just to kind of feel into what else can I release
Yeah.
before, how can I create that space?
Hmm.
Because with the new moon, it's creating space. So with the full moon, when we're after the 3 days and we're releasing what doesn't serve us, it's because we're making space for those new moon intentions to come through.
Right.
And take a breath, Aline.
Hmm.
And I get very excited and very passionate about this. So the other thing I would like to talk about is one of the things that's really good to remove and work with is limiting self-beliefs,
Hmm.
is limiting beliefs. And what's really important, because talking about the space that we're creating is when we are removing something,
Hmm.
it's making sure we're filling it with something which is good stuff.
Yes.
So as we're removing patterns, people, places, however it's coming up for us out
Hmm.
of our lives as we're coming up to the new moon, it's really important that that space there is going to be filled with healthy habits, with things that are good for us, with people that are good for us. There's no good or bad. There just is with people, places, and things that vibrate on our level at that moment.
Right.
So that's why I really wanted to talk about. Many people say, okay, I've got to get rid of this belief, I've got to get rid of this, I've got to get rid of that, I've got to do this, that's got to go, that's got to go, that's got to go. And yes, absolutely wonderful that that all goes, because if you're saying to yourself, I'm this, I'm that, and there's derogatory derogatory sentences and phrases in your body, because we hold everything in our body,
Yeah.
then absolutely it's great for it to go. What we're going to do though, as we're removing that, is there's a gap there, and that gap needs filling.
Right.
So when I do any kind of belief work, it's really important to transmute that. And I've got a technique, I won't go through it now. I've got a technique that I work with because it's very much personal and one-to-one. Just to kind of summarize with it though, it's transmuting. So it's, instead of saying, I release my unworthiness, done.
Hmm.
There's this gap there. So you fill that gap with, I am worthy.
Yes.
You fill with positive affirmations. And I just felt that's so important at the moment, because everything that's going on, it's so important. As empaths, as highly sensitive people, we're all getting more and more sensitive because we're going more towards the divine feminine as well, the world. And
Yes.
you can see it with all that's happening, the awful fires and everything that's happening with the ozone layer all around the world. I'm not going to get into that kind of energy. All I'm saying is we are being asked to stand up. We're
Hmm.
being asked to stand up. And when we stand in our power, we're standing in our power with our values and our beliefs, our true values and our beliefs. And it's really important. And I'm kind of getting goosebumps going up my legs as I'm saying this.
Hmm.
It's so important that we stand in our power, that we don't listen to what somebody just says to us and take it as gospel, if you
Yeah.
like,
Hmm.
because there's so many mediums, there's so much change going on, that many people can step into fear over curiosity, and then they can share their fear, and then that fear can snowball
Hmm.
and can turn into, oh, well, that's actually how it is, rather than us going, I choose to believe my values. I choose to believe how I see things. I choose to believe how I feel things. So, as much as it's important that we work as a collective and we work with love and compassion and kindness and respect, it's also massively important that we
Yeah.
don't listen to false teachers. We don't listen to false knowledge. We
Yes.
don't listen to something that's cloaked in such a way to make us believe it and to make us join something. We keep in our power and
Right.
our beliefs. Very strong to say that.
I love that.
And when we're doing this, we're also, as well as we're staying in our power and our beliefs and our strengths, we're also giving out the vibration of what we will allow and what we will accept
Hmm.
into our space. And so again, whatever vibration we're giving out, that's what we get back. So when we're in this strong, stalwart, these are my values, these are my beliefs, this is what I will accept, this is what I won't accept, what starts to happen, and I'm getting goosebumps again, what starts to happen is our vibration is matched, and that's when all the good things happen. That's when all the wonderful
Yes.
people into our lives. That's when synchronicities start happening. You think of someone and you bump into them in the street, or you feel, wouldn't it be wonderful if I had that in my life?
Yeah.
Something happens the next day to give you that opportunity. So
Right.
you asked me in the previous episode about, how would I start with spirituality? This is going on to the next level, and although it might sound up there, it's not. It's very, very basic structure, because what we want to do is, as we're building spirituality, is we want to build it on a really, really solid foundation. And
Yes.
the way we do this is what I'll accept, this is what I won't accept.
Hmm.
And it's accepting and not accepting from the point of view of who you actually are. So in
Yeah.
the wood snake, and we're in the 9 year as well, as those layers are peeling off, because this is what's happening, with a nine, and nine is all about endings, ending of cycles. And we have the year of the wood snake, which is beautifully helping us peel off layers.
Yes.
And these layers can also have possibly been, masks that we've been putting on, personas that we've been showing up so everybody else will like us and so we can fit in. It's time to be our true, authentic selves. It's massively about authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a really interesting one as well. It's okay not to be liked.
Mm-hmm.
And
True.
this one took me a while, and I still have to kind of work on it because not everybody's going to like us. And if all we're doing in our lives is running around and being a chameleon and adapting to all situations and bending ourselves and winding ourselves round, so somebody goes, "Oh, well done.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was really good. Oh, I like you. You can join our gang."
Yeah.
That's not serving anybody. We have to serve ourselves first so we can then do the ultimate service that we're here to do.
Yeah.
So, with the previous episode, I was talking about, be kind and compassionate and treat yourself as your best friend. This is when it really comes in because we've been working with Mars in retrograde and Cancer inside. This is when we start bringing it out into the world.
Yes.
And we don't have to do it with aggression. We don't have to do it with fury. We don't have to do it in anger.
Mm-hmm.
We do it in a very gentle, measured. This is why it's measured because
Yeah.
there's so much energy flying around
Yes.
that then pass. It's very easy to pick up on it and think that it's ours when it's not.
Yes.
So it's giving people compassion because we don't know what was going on with anybody else either. We
Yeah.
don't know what's going on in other people's lives. It's giving people compassion and understanding, and that has to start with us.
Yes.
And once we have our beliefs in place,
Mm-hmm.
once we have our solid foundation and our structure, once we know what we will and what we won't accept, then we can start um, allowing that to come into our lives, and
Mm-hmm.
we have those conversations with the people around us because it's very likely as we're changing our perception of ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
some people, I'm not saying everybody, some people may not like it because they're used to us being in a certain way. They're used to us
Very true.
dropping everything and
Mm-hmm.
being on the phone for an hour when they said, "Have you got 5 minutes?"
Right. Yeah.
So this is, and I'm going to probably start talking about boundaries now. I was going to save this for another one. This is how we start creating healthy boundaries because we have self-belief, because we know who we are. And then as we're changing our perception of who we are, not who we are, we're changing the narrative of who we tell ourselves,
Yes.
and we're educating those around us. It's not putting up a wall and saying back off.
Right.
I mentioned this before, I think, as well. This is why I created the healthy boundary checklist, knowing when to say no for empaths.
Yeah.
It's going through that checklist. So if somebody says, "Have you got 5 minutes?" We're not jumping in, it's
Right.
measured decisions. We're not jumping in and going, "Yes, I have." It's going through a checklist in our heads of, is this emergency? Is this an emergency? If it is, then of course we're going to be there.
Right.
Um, can this person do this themselves? Yes, if they can, encourage them to help themselves. No. Okay. Next question, is there anybody else that can help them? No. Yes, encourage them to seek help elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then if the final answer is you're the only one at the moment who can help them, then, and it's not an emergency, then you say, okay, I have this time on this date. We can be in the schedule, and you give half an hour. You give
Right.
them time limits. And then this is when it can start getting a bit like this because people are so used to you just going, let me help you, I'll take you and do it all for you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
So
it's
true.
really important that if people say anything, it's like, okay, well, you can, there's various ways you can say it. My personal advice, if anybody asked me, how would you do this? I would say, actually, I'm changing my perception of myself, and I'm really working on myself at the moment, and I'm understanding that I need to conserve my energy, and as much as I would like to help you, I also need to look after myself.
Right.
And if anybody has hindrance with that, if anybody has well, what do you mean? You're always there. Allow a couple of those. If
Right.
to a point where it's derogatory and it's really not okay, you can, of course, say, I don't really like the way you're speaking to me. I don't really like the way you're treating me. And
Hmm.
then if it still carries on, then that is a moment of thank you very much for being in my life. And I wish you all the best.
Yes.
Goodbye.
Hmm.
That's, and then a massive tingle up my spine then. So that, that's in terms of when we have our values in place, when we're starting into spirituality, because spirituality is everywhere.
Yes.
Spirituality is our soul. Spirituality is our true essence. It's not just guided meditations and flying in the clouds. As fabulous as that is, we're
Yes.
here on earth.
Hmm.
We're here for a reason. So what often happens as well is people are really inspired as we start developing get my right teeth in, developing ourselves as well. And any work that we do on ourselves, so you're going to have people around you. I know I did. I had people around me who were just like, oh, you don't ask us our opinion on anything anymore. It's like, no, I don't need to.
Right.
In here. So, oh, okay. And people notice, and there's going to be people who will really have your back. And some people might say, I knew you were in there somewhere. You might even have things like this,
Yeah.
because other people can see other people's potential
Right.
sometimes as well, that sometimes we don't see in ourselves.
Yeah.
So it's not all going to be, I'm necessarily saying that you're going to have derogatory comments. I'm just saying it's like any kind of change, might be a little bit of shaking, shall we say. Imagine the
Yeah.
snake like this. There's a little bit
Mhm.
of that going on just as
Yeah.
it's settling. So, when you're building bricks, they have to settle for the
Right.
foundations to settle in. Sorry, when you're building foundations to put the bricks on, there needs to be a settling time. So that's kind of analogy I would use with that. So don't give up on yourself. That's what I
Right.
want to say is really, really don't give up on yourself. Any kind of change because of our limbic brains, there's going to be resistance. It's
Yes.
natural that there's going to be resistance. So we up the inner work. And this is when affirmations and this is when a daily practice comes in. And we say to ourselves, okay, I'm going to do this for 5 or 10 minutes or half an hour. And we do that every day because
Right.
every time we're taking 5 or 10 minutes or half an hour to do a practice and be with ourselves,
Hmm.
as much as the work we're doing on ourselves, it's building really healthy habits. So
Yes.
then at some point, our mind, body, and soul is just going to expect us to do that. And it's going to be automatic and
Mm.
it's going to be our non-negotiable to
Yes.
take care and take time for ourselves.
Hmm.
And equally, as we're working on ourselves and as we're building our vibrations, those gorgeous people around us who are immediately in our energy, it helps them as well.
Yes.
And not only does it help them, it helps other people who are on the internet, for example. It extends and it helps the world. And
Yeah.
I'm not doing all happy clappy. It really, really does. It
Hmm.
energetically helps the world. Any work we're doing on ourselves with love, compassion, kindness, and respect, it's putting that out there. It's absolutely gorgeous. So that's what felt so strongly to talk about today is if anybody's feeling, oh, I've started this self-love, I've started working on myself, and it's obviously not supposed to be for me because this, and this has happened. If something is feeling a bit off kilter and things are a little rumbly, that's a good sign.
Yes.
That's the foundation settling. So as much as it may not feel like that, keep up the work. Get
Right.
in nature, do meditations, find something that really, really works for you because we're not all the same. We're not all the same. We know that. Work
Right.
out and I did an episode on this actually, work out what your unique rhythm is, what
Hmm.
works for you, and stick with that and keep going and keep going and keep going. That's what I wanted to talk about.
I love it. So if you had to take everything we talked about today and you really wanted to emphasize on some important factors, what are some
Mm.
of the things you really like to emphasize about today's
Oh
conversation?
my goodness, everything. So I would emphasize keep going. I would emphasize reach out. I didn't mention that actually. That's really important as well, is when you're going through any kind of changes, have a really good team around you
Hmm.
and with people who really know you. And they don't have to be necessarily your neighbors, they can be online.
Yes.
Like I mentioned before, what you'll find is as you're making these changes and your vibrations are changing, people come into our lives.
Yes.
So see those synchronicities, recognize those like-hearted souls and reach out to them and
Yes.
treat yourself as a best friend. Treat yourself, and I said this before as well, so treat yourself as a best friend. And if somebody was reaching out to you, you would absolutely help them,
Hmm.
with the gorgeous, heartfelt souls that you're meeting, you would absolutely help them and allow yourself to be helped because
Right.
it's so important as empaths and highly sensitive people. We can do the whole, I'm fine, I've got this.
Hmm.
When we actually haven't, and we could really do with just a cup of tea or not even talking about what's going on, just to be in the presence with somebody who's like-hearted, just
Yeah.
to feel that connection. And then we're okay, and then we can carry on. So I would say don't hide yourself when you're going through any kind of transitions. Be your best friend. Work at your own pace, work
Hmm.
at your own rhythm. Listen to what actually works for you, not what everybody else is telling you what works for you. Feel into, well, does that resonate with me? Does
Yeah.
that resonate with me? Because what I'm really hoping is, as your listeners are tuning in, they're not going, okay, yes, yes, I agree with that, I agree with that. They're listening from a really measured point and going, yeah, actually, or no, that doesn't really resonate with me, which is brilliant because that's what is so important for us to do,
Yeah.
is to feel what works for us. Um, yeah, and work with. It's going to be all of it. Like I said, what I emphasize, I emphasize all of it. So let me try
Yeah.
and summarize. So work with the wood snake, be measured. Work with Mars and direct, take action. Take
Hmm.
measured, gentle action. Be your own best friend. Reach out, keep going. There you
I
go.
love it. I love it. This was a great message. Now, you said you were coming out with a program. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, of course, I'd love to. So, it's called Embrace Yourself. It's a 22 path work to self-love. And it's Embrace Yourself 2.0. I created it, it was channeled a couple of years ago, and it's really, really beautiful. And I was being really feeling recently because I've been going through it myself a lot, so many times, and it's really helped other people. And I was feeling, I just kind of feel I'd like other people to know about this. And I would really like to just change a couple of things. So what's happened, again, it's all synchronicity, is somebody got in touch with me and said, I really love your message. Can we collaborate together?
Hmm.
And what I'm feeling very much in the world as well is it's really important to work as a team, and you've got your beautiful The Advisor with Stacey Chillemi. It's gorgeous and it's all about being a team. It's all about a community. So instead of trying to do it all myself, because I know my strengths, tech isn't necessarily one of them.
Hmm.
So on Friday, on New Moon, because I really wanted to come out on New Moon, it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful path work. It's 22 days.
Hmm.
And each day there's a 25 to 30-minute video.
Hmm.
And each video is different for each day. So on the first day, there's an introduction. There's also a welcome book. So there's a book which will explain how to get ready. So to read through that first. Then there's also a book which goes along with the whole video series.
Hmm.
So instead of having to sort of rewind back and listen to a certain part, it's all in the book as
Yeah.
well. So what happens is we speak about, and I'm not going to mention any of the affirmations, it's a surprise. We speak for the day. I explain how we can work with that, how what that truly means to have that. Then each of the journeys are with a beautiful energy of one of the goddesses. And again, I'm not going to say who it is.
Hmm.
And with that beautiful affirmation, each journey is channeled. So it's working with that affirmation into the journey. So we're working with that gorgeous feminine energy.
Hmm.
And then at the end of the journey, there's a small action step to take.
Yeah.
Because much as we're working on the feminine and we're working on self-love, it's really important to start imprinting that and to really bring it down into our bodies.
Yes.
So that's how that works. And then the love work for the day is to work with just having that mantra, that affirmation in heart. So anything that happens that day, that's the answer. Anything that happens inside or outside, that's the answer. And that's for 22 days. And what that does is it starts really building the relationship with ourselves. We start getting to really know ourselves. So there's
Yeah.
lots of different affirmations, there's lots of different tasks. And it's simple, it's effective, it's beautiful, it's with the energy of love, it's with the energy of unconditional love, and it's taking time for ourselves,
Yes.
loving ourselves no matter what. And this is why I've created it, because there's so much conditional love. I'll love you if you do this for me. I'll love you when you're this size. I'll love you if you have a facelift. I'll love you, all of this kind of.
Yeah.
So this is unconditional love, throat chakra.
Hmm.
And it is giving yourself unconditional love. So loving yourself in the skin you're in, exactly how you are, no changes, exactly who the gorgeous, true, beautiful essence that you are now. That's what it's all about. And getting you to that point of fabulous self-worth, fabulous self-belief, fabulous self-love, and sharing it ultimately. And then that's when you start allowing your gifts to come out. That's when you start taking measured decisions with love. That's when you start allowing yourself to live the best life for you, not for everybody else, but for
Right.
you. Because ultimately, you listen inside. You've got
Yeah.
all the answers inside. And this is what the Embrace Yourself 20, the 22-day path work to
Hmm.
self-love is all about.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Where can people find this program?
So I will send you the link. It's on align-with-aline.com. That's my website. I'm also on the Linktree Acceptance Coach because it's being moved onto a different platform. It's actually going to be alinecdavis.it.com. So I'll give the links.
Hmm.
And also, it will be on my link tree as well, so you can just access it straight away. And it's really gorgeous. You get instant access. There's an instant email will come through from love at align-with-aline.com, and you just go straight through. Oh, and it's really important because it comes out on a Friday. There's a reason for this, and also for the new moon.
Hmm.
It starts on a Friday. I highly recommend everybody starts on a Friday. It's been designed and created with the planetary hours. So each day is in line with that planet. So Friday is all about Venus, all about love, and the whole series is about love. And specifically, the affirmations are to do with the qualities of each planet for that day as well. So it's really important to start it on a Friday, please, in the morning. I would
Hmm.
suggest. Of course, do it how you want to do it. That's just how it was designed. I
Yes.
would really highly recommend Friday morning, get up half an hour earlier, and off you go.
Oh, I love it. I love it. This is an amazing. Oh my goodness. And just one question, when you have a new moon, does that
Mm.
kind of represent like does that change a lot when it comes to your energy and your thinking patterns?
Yeah, so it's with the new moon. Because it's all about rejuvenation, it's about renewal. And when we're making, this is important to say as well, is when we're making any kind of intention with the new moon, it normally takes about 6 months to come to pass. So with the new moon, there's a freshness, there's a vibrance, there's an excitement, there's a we've cleansed, if you like, we've cleansed all the way up to it, and then it's like, okay, we've now got this beautiful open space, and you could see it as clarity as well. There's a clarity in us.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when it's a really beautiful time. And thank you for asking this again, because I know you asked this at the beginning. So there's a clarity in us, and it's really coming through and really feeling and knowing, because the moon is all about intuition. It really heightens the full moon when she's in celebratory mode. That's when our highest intuition is up there, and I use my hands a lot. When the new moon is happening, that is when there's a freshness, there's a newness, and it's really tuning in and feeling into the possibilities, the possibilities of what would be my most wonderful life, what would be the most aligned life for me, what
Yes.
really vibrates with me. That's when, that mindset is great to do that then. Because with the new moon as well, because we've got those 2 weeks,
Yes.
that's a great time to put any project out into the world, to start any projects, to if anybody's looking to, I don't know, to look at buying homes or something, that's quite a good time to start looking because you've got that freshness going on.
Right.
The only thing I would say is make sure it's not Mercury retrograde at the same time, because do not sign contracts when it's Mercury retrograde. So it's that freshness, it's that newness, it's allowing ideas to come in, it's going out in nature and being under a tree and having a piece of, pen and paper and just feeling newness coming through. And then with the full moon, it's the joy and the celebration and the gratitude. So
Right.
new moon is I'd say it's almost like the curiosity of a child,
Yeah.
almost. It's that embracing, what's coming now? Hurrah! Because you've made that gorgeous space. You've made that gorgeous space to fill with beautiful things. Like, what can I fill this beautiful space with? And it's, being in that kind of mindset. And then with the full moon, it's being grateful for what you fill that space with two
Yeah.
weeks before.
I love this. This is amazing. Oh my goodness. Well, Aline, has been a wonderful session. I am really excited about your new program coming out this Friday. And I'm so excited about the new moon and about just stepping into this new year, with a totally different outlook and really elevating our energies to the
Mhm.
next level, And I love the fact that you talk about how we could elevate our how it's a process and how we could elevate it to the point where it becomes so natural that we're elevating our energies, our thoughts, our abilities, and bringing us to that level where we are so in tune with our intuition and we are able to connect with the spiritual world and how it just, it's a practice. It's a day by day, just taking time out to really connect with ourselves, with the spirit world and really just like you said. So that's why I think this program that you have, Embrace Yourself, is going to be a hit because it's just you need to, in order to do this, you need to have self-love because that's where it all stems from. It's really caring about yourself so much that you're going to connect with yourself and be able to connect with the spiritual world and have the guidance that you need. And also that gives you the strength and it really helps you through life, in so many ways.
Yeah, completely. You have just summarized it so beautifully. Thank you. It's been wonderful this session, and I've said before, it's incredible what you've created. And I imagine you can say to your listeners, would you believe this 5, 10 years ago? Look what you've created through keep going, and being kind and compassionate and full of respect for yourself and listening to your body, and listening to what works for you. So it's with the moon, because it's such a gorgeous feminine energy, that's,
Yeah.
when we really nurture ourselves as well. That's important.
Oh, 100%, 100%. Well, this has been great, Aline. I thank you so much for coming on the show today and sharing this message. And if anyone has any questions about the new moon or going into the new year, please email Aline. She answers all your emails and you can contact her through her website. You can contact her just by leaving a comment on her podcast and you can also find her in the social networks. So thank you once again for being on the show and I look forward to our next session together.
So do I. Thank you so much. And I love to hear from people. And if you would like to directly email me, it's love@align-with-aline.com.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, you have a great day. Thank you so much
You
for being on the
too.
show.
Thank you so much. You're amazing. Much love.
So are you. So are you. You have a good day.
Thank you.